All right. Hey, you guys. All right. This is, I should have looked at the date before I did this, August 23rd. We are doing a call with the wonderful Tara. She is going to share with us today a little bit about how she works her business in the pockets of time that she has. She is a busy mom of two. She's a full-time job. She goes into an office every single day, and she still finds time in her morning to crush a morning routine, get her workouts done. She's a product of the product, and she is still the top of the leaderboard almost every single month on our team. So we want to hear, how do you work your business so well in these small pockets of time that you actually have through your day, and what exactly are you doing in those pockets? So I'm going to hand it over to Tara. I just need to make her a host here, and then she's going to share a screen with us so that we can hear all about it. All right, you should be the host now.
All right, let's see here. Okay.
Perfect.
There we go. Okay. I'm going to apologize in advance because mom life and trailer life, my dogs go a little crazy sometimes when people walk by. So if you hear barking in the background, I apologize. I just can't control them. So they're with the kids in the bedroom, but that's not going to stop them because we're in a small space. So sorry in advance for barking. Okay, so I am going to share with you sort of the things that I do to maximize my time, because really this business is all about maximizing your time, whether you're doing it on a full-time basis or a part-time basis or a hobby basis or whatever it is. It's about maximizing your time, but life is about that, right? So how do I maximize the time that I have to work this business? So first of all, you've probably heard this a million times, and I'm going to say it to you again. There's so much to be said about making sure that you are focusing on your vital behaviors, right? So your business activity tracker is your best friend. And I can tell you that when I first started this business, and actually for the first probably 6 months of working this business, I had no idea what that was. I didn't use it. I didn't know it existed. I knew there were vital behaviors. I really didn't focus on them. I didn't listen to Jer and Shalene, sorry. And I kind of just thought I could just do it my way. That was one of the biggest mistakes I made, and it set me back, but it was okay because once I started using it, I found my stride. So I use my business activity tracker as my guide, and then I fit that into the pockets of time that I have. So we all know what the vital behaviors are, right? So we have to be proof the products work. That should be a given, and that should be happening every day regardless. We have to connect, invite, and follow up. We have to get people results, and we have to make sure that we're engaging in our personal development. So when our time is limited, and so what I focus on the most is prioritizing these vital behaviors based on what my goals are. So what does that mean? It means I have to establish my goals. Those can change, guys. They don't have to be the same goals over the course of the time that you're a coach. They're going to change. They're going to change based on what your marketing plan is. Are your goals to focus on getting SC club? Do you want to get SC6, SC5, SC10? Or are your goals to build a team? So whatever your goal is, you should prioritize your activities based on those goals. Once you have your goals, you need to figure out how you're going to get there. So you look at your business activity tracker and you look at the different things in there and figure out, what do I need to focus on in order to reach the goals that I have? So just that little quote at the bottom, I just kind of made it up myself. But to know what you have to do, you have to know where you're going, right? You have to know where your goals are, and that's how you'll know what you need to do. So you have your goals, you've set those goals up. Now what do? You have to accept that not every day is going to be the same, and that you're not always going to get those boxes checked off. So in February, some of you may not know this, you're new coaches, but Beachbody runs a team cup. So you're placed on a team if you choose to participate, and the goal is to get as many SC points as you can, right? So I was placed on this team, and I'm super competitive. So it's good to be competitive at this business, by the way. You don't want to compare yourself to anybody else, but it is good to be competitive. So I'm super competitive, and I thought I have to be on the top of my team. Like, hands down, I can't not be. And really, I was a relatively new coach compared to some of the other people on the team. Actually, Danielle and I were relatively new, I think, compared to the other people on the team. We were on the team together, and I thought, okay, I've got to do this. So that's when I actually started using the business activity tracker, and I made sure that every box was checked off that month, every single box. However, I can tell you that it interfered with a lot of other stuff in my life because I became fixated on it. I perseverated on it, right, guys? Like, I was like, these boxes have to be checked off. There are going to be days that the boxes aren't checked off. That's okay, because you have your goals and you know what you're focusing on that particular month. So if you've established your goals for that month and you know your goal is, let's say in the first 2 weeks, I want to focus on reaching SC Club. So that's what I do, right? I try to do in my first 2 weeks of the month, I try and hit my SC goals, at least SC5, but hopefully SC10. And once I get there, then the balance of my month is focused on other things like the coaching opportunity. So that's kind of how I break my months down. Sometimes it's different. So I have that in mind. I have my non-negotiables. I fit them in my morning routine when I can. And I'm pretty good at it now. So my workout is a non-negotiable. It gets done. It gets done in the morning. I get up no matter what. I do give myself grace if I need it, but for the most part, I get up no matter what and I get my workout in. I use my products. Those go hand in hand, right? So my Energize happens, my workout happens, my Shakeology happens every single morning. That's my routine. I show up in my challenge groups in the morning. You can't forget about your existing clients. The majority of my coaches now were once clients. I think all but one were all already clients of mine. If you're not showing up in your challenge groups because you're spending too much time checking off all those other invite boxes and all of that kind of stuff, you're missing out on an opportunity that's already right in front of you. You don't even have to look very far for that. It's already right there. If you're showing up, the people will come around. Maybe not today or tomorrow, but I promise you they're going to come around. Okay. So don't forget about them. I lean into them in the morning. I answer questions, I post, I respond to people who have posted the day before, and my personal development every morning, non-negotiable, have to do it. Sometimes it's 15 minutes, sometimes it's 20, sometimes it's 5, right? Sometimes I look at my clock and went, oh shoot, I took too long doing this or that. And it may not be long. It may not be the amount of time that's in the business activity tracker, and that's okay because I did it and I'm going to apply it. Right? That's the key. Don't just do it for the sake of doing it. Don't just check off the boxes. Apply it. It might not be right in that 10 or 15 minutes, but you do want to ultimately apply what you're learning when you're doing your personal development. So I do that every morning. Every single morning. I get up at 10 to 5. I'm downstairs, and between 10 to 5 and 7, I get all of that done. I have that 2 hours in the morning, and I use those 2 hours, like every minute of those 2 hours. And when I don't, I know that's on me. I can't blame it on anybody else. But that's what I aim to do every single morning. And then, so I've already kind of talked about how I break down my month in terms of how I focus my goals. So like I said, I want to get the SC stuff out of the way so that I can focus on really what's going to build my business. So once I figured out where I wanted to go with my business, which was really wanting to work this business, and Shalene talked about that in a video earlier in this diamond group about choosing one of the 4 types of coaches. So I've decided that I kind of want to go there, right? This is what I want to do. I want to go there. So I want to get the SC stuff out of the way because, again, I'm competitive. I want those SC points and I want the trip, right? So I want to get those. But then I've been starting to focus more on the coaching. And when you look at the business activity tracker, I mean, all of those things can apply to both of them. But when I'm focusing more on the coaching, I'm focusing more on building my connections, on communicating, on finding my leaders, right? Find your leaders. That sometimes takes me a little bit longer because I'm not as comfortable on Instagram. So I make that a priority over inviting to my challenge groups, right? Which, you can knock out relatively quickly because we use the resources we have. We don't try and reinvent the wheel. So I focus more and I prioritize my time on building connections, finding leaders, adding followers, that kind of stuff. So I kind of do that in the last 2 months, or the last 2 weeks of the month. And again, that's based on my goals. Your goals may not be the same. That's based on my goals, and it seems to be working for me because I can go hardcore and inviting them to my challenge groups, get my SC out of the way, get people in there so I'm not forgetting that I still need to add people to my challenge groups, but then still giving an equal amount of time, just not at the same time, an equal amount of time to the coaching opportunity. So I'm just doing it a little bit differently, that's all. Have your plan, stick to it. I swear by that. You have to have a plan and you have to stick to it. Find what works for you and stick to it. Stick to it. Some months it may not work as well as others. That doesn't mean you give up on it. Stick to it. It's like our workout programs, right? One day might be crap. If you stick to it, the next day is going to be good. It's the same thing with your plan. Some days it may not work the way you want it to. Don't give up on it. So this is a big one for me. I don't always have a full hour to do a power hour. In fact, I rarely have a full hour to do a power hour. Sometimes on weekends I do. But otherwise during the week, I just don't. Not only that, I have a hard time focusing on anything for an hour. I have to take breaks or I get lost. So I wander. So what do I do when I don't have a full hour? So one, don't hit that snooze button. Use your morning routine. I know that a lot of us, it's hard for us to get up in the morning. It's hard for me too. Don't get me wrong. I don't pop out of bed. I'm not a morning person. I'm becoming a morning person, but I'm not a morning person. But you have to do it, right? You can't not do it and press snooze and then say, I don't understand why I don't have the time to get stuff done. You do use the time that you have. So this is what I do every morning. I've already kind of talked about it, but I spend about 15 minutes on personal development. I do my workout, so proof the product works. So I'm checking that off the business activity tracker. I spend about 15 minutes in my challenge group. So I'm getting off that last box, or the second last box, getting people results. And I try and do a few stories in the morning, knock those out of the way so that I'm getting that middle part where we have to do your stories. So I've gotten all that out of the way before I've even gotten to work. So again, it's psychological, right? You check off those boxes, then you look at it later and you go, oh, look how many boxes I already checked off. That's great. I use my breaks at work. If you need to, set a timer. I'm pretty good with my time management, but if you're not, set a timer. I use my breaks at work. I don't smoke, so I don't have to get up and go for a smoke. I sit down and I shut everything else off and I focus. So what do I do in those breaks? That's when I do my connections, my inviting, my follow-ups. I do that I take 2 breaks at work. And then I have a lunch period. So over those 3 time frames, that's when I do all of that stuff. You can get it done in that time frame. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, but that's what I do. I go back to my goals and I start with the tasks that are going to get me to those goals. That's where I start. So that if for whatever reason I can't get it done, I have interruptions, which I do get a lot of at my job. The phone rings, I got to answer it. If a client comes in, I have to take the client. I start with those tasks that are going to get me to my goals. I've already figured that out, right? Because we've already made our plan for the month. I've already figured that out. I know what tasks I have to do first. That way, if I don't get the other tasks done, I'm not going to panic about it because I know what I'm focusing on. I'll oftentimes alternate my days between inviting and follow-ups. So I have enough invites that I've got a ton of people to follow up with. So one day I may do a ton of invites. Alexis. The next day I will follow up. That has worked for me for the last probably 4 months. It's worked really well for me. Also, if you struggle with the inviting, if you're doing follow-ups every other day, it helps because then you don't get that overwhelm feeling and push it to the side. I don't know if anybody else does that, but if there's something that you're avoiding doing because it's stressful or overwhelming to you, you're just going to keep putting it aside. So if you take a break from that for one day, then when you go into it the next day, you're like, okay, I can do this, right? So that's what I do. I alternate those 2 and I do that pretty regularly and it seems to have worked for me. If you don't finish, don't panic. Stop where you're at, make a to-do list. Okay. So if your break is over and you're like, oh my God, I got 2 invites in, don't worry about it. Make a to-do list before you go back into your work of the things you want to do on your next break, right? Get 3 more invites in or whatever it is. The worst thing you can do is panic about not having got it all done or keep going and waste more time. Just stop where you're at. It's okay. Stop where you're at. It'll get done. So that's what I do during the day. I throw some more stories in. Maybe I'll throw my lunch in. Maybe I'll throw in a, look, I can do this in my pockets of time story, whatever it is. At night, so that's my day. At night, be willing to sacrifice, right? So yeah, I like my TV shows, usually in the fall, like Grey's Anatomy is one of my shows. I watch it regularly. But if things need to get done, if I didn't get it done during the day, I can catch the recording of it. We DVR, I'll catch the recording. That was hard for me like a year ago. It's like, I'm not missing my show. What do you mean I miss my show? You have to be willing to sacrifice some things, right? And sometimes that means sacrificing time with my kids. It's not every day. So your kids will live. If you don't have kids, whatever it is, your spouse, your boyfriend, your partner, whoever it is, they'll live, they'll get over it. But at the end of the day, you're running a business. And if it was any other business, you'd do it, right? That's your job. You would do it. So why treat this any differently? Don't treat it any differently than your job, right? My regular job, if I didn't get my stuff done during the day and I have to take it home, guess what? I'm not watching TV that night. Why is this any different? If you're thinking about it as it's different than any other job, that's how you're going to treat it, and you won't push forward. So you have to treat this like any other job. Treat this like it's your only source of income, right? And if you do that, you're going to find that you're not going to have as much trouble with the sacrifice, right? So if I don't get it all done during the day, I do sacrifice time at night. I try not to, but I do. And I just basically finish up whatever I didn't get done during the day. That's what I do at night. Or if people have been questioning me during the day and I haven't been able to get to them, I do try to get to them at night. I try not to put people off, but I do that in my regular job as well. If I have clients call or clients send me an email, I will always respond before the end of the day. It's just a personal thing for me. So if I have to do that at night, it's okay. I don't mind doing it. And I find that, it serves me because tons of people say, oh my God, thank you for getting back to me so quickly. They trust me, right? And people now trust me. So it's not always this process for me isn't going to work for everybody. It works for me. Give it a shot. If whatever you're doing isn't working, give this a shot, right? But don't be afraid to do it differently. Don't be afraid to stand out, right? And don't be afraid to not follow the business activity tracker the way it's set out, like 25 minutes for this, 15 minutes for that. That may not be serving you. You have to find what serves you and what works for you. If you try and be like somebody else, it may not work for you, and you're going to find that your business will not move forward as quickly. All right, so I've done my invite squirrel. Yeah, distractions. I get distracted just like the best of us. I'll start scrolling and then I look at my time, like I just literally spent half an hour scrolling through Facebook. So what are common time suckers that I've found in my business and how do I avoid them? Following other coaches. There is nothing wrong with following other coaches. So don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with following them. However, you want to be yourself. You want to be authentic. And I feel like when I'm seeing other coaches, I can pick out the coaches that are just trying to be like other coaches and the coaches that are trying to make it on their own. If you are trying to be like somebody else, people will call you out. Okay. You have to be authentic. I can't be silly like other coaches. It's just not me. I can be funny. I can't be silly. You'll rarely find me with the peace sign. It doesn't feel right for me. There's nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't feel right for me. If I start doing that, people are going to be like, what is she doing? Because it just doesn't work for me. It's not my personality. So I follow other coaches for ideas and concepts. If I'm going to use them, I try to recreate them as much as I can, unless it fits with who I am. So you could spend all day long following other coaches and trying to replicate what they're doing. Don't waste your time doing that. Do a quick scroll through maybe your top 3, because you find that they resonate most with you, or they're the coach you want to be like in terms of how they run their business, not as a person, but how they run their business. Find like your top 3. Don't spend all your time on their pages. Don't watch all their lives. That's what I do. I mean, if you want to do that, go for it. But I don't watch all their lives. I don't look at all their posts. Some of their lives are 20 minutes. That's 20 minutes you could have been spending inviting, right? So watch them every now and then. It's great to do that. It's great for motivation, but don't do it all the time. Again, it's okay to borrow, but avoid copying all the time. You have to be authentic. Crafting the perfect post can take forever, right? Like, I don't know if you guys have had that. I've sat for like 20 minutes, half an hour trying to figure out what to say. Follow your marketing plan. So Darren and Shalene have set out a marketing plan. It's in FamJam. Look at it, follow it. It gives you ideas. You don't have to spend 10, 15, 20 minutes trying to think of an idea, right? That's there. So follow that. If you're authentic, things will come to you, right? So if you're using your daily life and relating it to your business, things will come quickly, right? And then you can just talk because you're being authentic. If you're talking about things that you enjoy, if you're talking about things that are personal to you, I could talk about my dogs forever. I could talk about my kids forever. Just relate it to your business. It makes it a little bit easier. Have relatable content to your market. So who are the people that you're speaking to? Make sure that you're giving them relatable content. How do you know it's relatable? Well, if it's relatable to you, it'll be relatable to them, right? Because you're looking for your target market. They're people that are like you. Hey, Liz. The 3 R's. So like literally the 3 R's, reduce, reuse, recycle, right? Like literally 3 R's. We have so many resources available to us. Take them, reuse them. Like Danielle has made posts that she's put in FamJam. I've made them. They're there for you. Use them, recreate them if they don't fit with who you are, because always go back to be authentic. But they're there. So you don't have to spend a ton of time doing this, guys. So don't spend all your time crafting the perfect post. There's no such thing as a perfect post. Just be relatable to people and you're good. There is such a thing as too much information. And Shalene has said this before on calls, but there is such a thing as too much information. You can spend days trying to pour through calls, national wake-up calls, team calls, the training in the back office. You could spend days doing that. You have to just jump in. You have to dive in and then learn as you go. So I'm not saying don't participate in the calls. They're amazing. They fire you up. They give you little tidbits that you wouldn't necessarily think of. So don't not do it. But if your focus is on pushing your business forward, get your business activity tracker stuff done and then do the other stuff. That's what I do. Because to me, the inviting is the most important thing. If you're watching all the calls and not inviting everybody, then what are the calls? What are you going to use them for? You have nothing to use them for because you don't have any invites out there and you don't have any people in your challenge group, right? It's about balance. So I take care of my vitals first and then I do the learning, right? When I have a little bit of extra time, and I'll get into that. Scrolling, don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't scroll through Facebook. Don't scroll through Instagram. Don't do it. It wastes time, right? So if you only have so much time, then don't waste time doing things that aren't going to serve you because scrolling isn't going to serve you, right? If you think about what you get from scrolling versus what you get from a call. So if you have extra time, don't scroll through Facebook, jump on a call. So what about all the other stuff? So now we've got through all of the vital behavior stuff. I've taken you through my day. So where do I find time to craft my posts for my challenge group, do the calls, contribute to the other groups I'm in, like the Crush Nation groups or whatever, crafting new stuff for stories, navigating my back office? Where do I find all the time to do that stuff? Well, I pre-populate my posts. I use extra time when I have it. So I have a little bit of extra time on weekends, so not in the office all day. I could sleep in. I could sit and watch TV. I could do a whole bunch of other things. But like any other business, my business comes first. So I get all of that stuff done early. I get up early on the weekend. I get all that stuff out of the way. And then I have the rest of my day. That's when I get this stuff done. I pre-populate my posts on weekends unless I have extra time during the week, if I had a day off or whatever. For the most part, I do it all on weekends because I have extra time and I can knock it out. So that's when I do all of my challenge group posts, come up with ideas, create my marketing plan for the following week. All of that gets done on weekends because I have more time. One of the options that you can do, use your resources, guys. There's so much in the challenge group guides, the blog, your upline. Use your upline. Sorry, Shalene, use your upline because They have stuff, right? They've probably been doing it longer than you. They have stuff that they can give you. Don't be afraid to ask for it or use it. It's there. Why waste time? Find a success partner. So some of you may not know what a success partner is, but like essentially what Shalene and I are doing with MN100 is like having a success partner. So you share the workload. So, there's nothing wrong with that. Find somebody that you mesh with, but also have some differences with, right? So if you struggle with time management, you want to seek out somebody that does not have time management issues, right? But your goals are the same. What you stand for is the same, that kind of stuff. Don't worry about having a success partner. There's nothing wrong with saying, I need help. There is nothing wrong with that, right? When I had my kids, I was hell-bent on, guys, I'm going to do this by myself. I don't need any help. Elliot, hey. Sorry, guys. I don't need help. I can do this on my own. And one of the biggest... Sorry. Oh, my dogs are fighting. Sorry. So I was hell-bent on doing it on my own. And one of the pieces of advice that I give new moms now is ask for help. Okay. You will regret it later. Ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. Do it in the business too. That leads into the next one. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You have an upline for a reason. Chances are you have an upline because they've decided to work this business. That means they will devote the time to help you. Don't ever apologize for asking questions. Use templates, make them your own. You can save time. Don't reinvent the wheel. I've already kind of said that. Find what works for you and keep using it. You don't have to do different stories every single time. Use the same ones. It's okay, right? Because you're supposed to be adding followers. So you're going to hit all those new people, right? So they haven't seen those stories before. Don't be afraid to reuse the same stories. So what are my tips and tricks? I stay organized. It's really important when you have not as much time in your day to stay organized. So I've shown my coaches and some of the coaches on Fan Jam, but I have a portfolio and like notebook system. So I use this from the dollar store. It's separated into tabs. I have all of my invites listed out. So I have the date that I invite them, the name of the person, where I invited them from, the day I followed up with them, and what their response was. Highlighted people are people who I've signed. If they ask for more information, I'll put a little red asterisk. So that will, when I'm doing my follow-ups, it'll target me. My eye will go to that little red asterisk because if it's not highlighted, they didn't sign up. So I'm going to go to those people for my follow-ups first. That means I've sent them info before. That means they've shown interest. So when there's something new that comes up, a new promo, a new program, those are the people I'm going to hit first because they've already asked me for information. So that's how I organize my invites and my follow-ups. And it keeps me focused, right? That's important when you don't have a lot of time, is to keep me focused. And I have my business activity tracker right beside it, right? Some people use the Rise Up Planner. I don't use it. I bought it. I haven't started using it because I couldn't get into it. But it works for some people. So if you want to know how to use that, Shalene's your girl. And then I have just a trusty old journal or planner. That's where I keep track of all my marketing. So some people just like print something off. I have a planner. Like, can't probably read my chicken scratch, but this is what I use to tell me what I need to post about, what I'm focusing on. So I have everything from now until the end of the year, all the new programs that are coming out, when the new Shakeology flavors are coming out. Anytime I get that information, I open up my planner and I plan when I'm going to start talking about that stuff. So that's what I use my planner for. Organization is so, so, so key to keeping yourself on track. Have a system. I do the same things every day. I might do them at different times, but I do the same things every day. It's my system. It works. I'm not going to sway from it. It's like having a morning routine. Once it becomes habit, it's easy, or it's easier. My routine for how I run my business has become a habit for me. It might take place at different times of the day, but the stuff is getting done, and it's getting done in the same type of way because it works for me. So once you find that, stick to it. It'll be habit. My system is to stick with my 5 invites a day or every other day, however I'm doing it. I do more if time permits, except for if I'm pushing for a goal or a target, like if I haven't if I haven't met Success Club, I will push my invites, right? So I'll amp that up because I know you got to invite more if you want people to sign up. But for starting out, because of time, I try and stick with my 5. And then if I find, oh, look, I've got more time, then I'll just keep going, right? But stick to your, whatever your goal is. I cut and paste. Saves time. So I use all of the invites that I've seen, whether Jamie and Kim have posted them or Jaron and Shalene, or ones that I've used in the past. I just cut and paste them and I use them. Save time. I don't have a lot of time. I'm not going to waste it trying to recraft things. Write down people's names as you are checking sort of, you get your notifications, someone's commented or liked your post, write their name down. So I try to do that. Like if I'm not on a break and I can't get to inviting those people right away, but I see a notification pop up, I'll just write their name down and carry on with what I'm doing so that later on when I have that time to invite, I have a whole list. I've got a list of 20 invites. Perfect. I'll start with the first 5. If I have more time, I'll do the next 5. If not, I'll do the next 5 the next day. It just makes it easier in terms of time savings. I do what works. So you have to find what works for you. Does a power hour work for you, or do pockets of time work for you? Pockets of time work for me. If a power hour works for you, stick with that. Working in the morning versus the afternoon, find what works. I have to work all day long, but if you have a specific time that works better for you, stick to it. Some people say I'm only going to do this 5 days a week. Some people say I'm going to do it all 7 days a week. Whatever works for you, stick to it. Again, I break up my coaching versus challenge group invites. If you want to do them all on the same day, go for it. I break them up because it makes it easier for me to focus. Same with inviting. Some people prefer cold invites. Some people prefer to develop connections first and then invite those people after. Either way, you're knocking off something from your business activity tracker, right? If you're developing a connection first, you've done that part of your business activity tracker. If you're cold inviting, you're doing that part. So either way, you're still knocking something off. Just find what works for you. So at Summit, there were 2 speakers who were part-time Beachbody coaches, and they were very successful coaches, and they were talking about their strategies. And I wrote them all down because I found them helpful to me. So they were Aaron Young and Michael Ullman. So I wanted to share some of their tips with you. So they also talked about the vitals, be a product of the product, start and finish a program. Super important as a coach to be able to say you started and finished a program, and use your products daily. That's a given. I'm pretty sure all of you guys are doing that anyway. They said prepare your mindset every day. So do your affirmations and personal growth. If you're in a good mindset, then you're going to hit that day with a good mindset. So you're not going to be defeated before you even start, right? Don't start with, I don't know how, I've got meetings all day today. How am I going to get all this done? If you start with that mindset, you're not going to get it all done. I'll tell you right now, because I've done it. You won't get it done. So start with a positive mindset. I have a crazy busy day. This is what I'm going to focus on today. That's what you got to do. The business activity tracker. So Michael Ullman said that he does it 5 days a week. That's it. Family time is super important to him. Because it makes you relatable, right? Showing that you also have a family life or something else that you're doing, not just this business. Because if people are seeing that all you're doing is the business, it may turn them off because they're going to say, well, when do you have time for life, right? You have to have a good balance. So he does it 5 days a week, and he just fits it all in those 5 days. He's very intentional about it. And then he takes those 2 days not to. My personality doesn't let me do that. I just can't do that. I can't just not do it for 2 days. But if you haven't tried that, try it. That 2 days of break might help you, or even 1 day a week. It might help you to refocus the following week. Something worth a shot. So he also said that he works in pockets of time and blitzes when he has extra time. So that's what I do. So I just wanted to show you that other coaches do that too. And take one thing at a time. So what he said and what was helpful to me was, If one day you don't get something done, don't worry about it. Actually start with that thing the next day. So I found that very helpful as well. If you don't knock all the things off on your to-do list, instead of starting at the top again, start with the one thing you didn't get done and then move through the rest. Expand your list. So I have my list. I've shown you guys my list. So he does it too. He works from a list. He keeps track of his contacts and he always has it with him. So if he is in a business meeting and there's a break, but he's not at the office, he always has that list of people with him and carries it with him so that he can just jump on his phone. Guys, that's the beauty of this business, is you can do it from your phone. He'll jump on his phone and he has the list. He doesn't have to try and remember who it was and doesn't have to carry like this big, huge portfolio. He just has his list with him at all times of the people that he's going to be connecting with. And then if he has some extra time, otherwise he'd just be sitting there in that break doing nothing or trying to search who he was talking to. Again, waste time. So have that list. Carry it with you so you can do it from anywhere. Create a business action plan. Darren and Shalene talk about this all the time. Jamie and Kim talk about this all the time. Darren and Shalene have created their Fam Jam marketing plan. If you don't know where it is, ask them or go find it. It'll help you. If you haven't created one for yourself, use it. They don't do it for the good of their health. They do it to help you. So go and use it. Don't just ignore it. Use it. It'll help you. So one of the things that Aaron and Michael talked about is having a theme of the week or a general posting strategy. Again, the Fam Jam one does that. But for example, on Mondays, maybe you'll do your invites to challenge groups. On Tuesdays, you'll talk about transformation. On Wednesdays, have an action hour. On Thursdays, do your connecting and have an expanding blitz. Friday, do follow-ups, so that kind of stuff. Create a plan. If you have a plan, you're more likely to follow it. If you're haphazard, like I was for the first 6 months of my business, you won't know whether you're coming or going. You can't keep track. You're not organized and you're going to waste time. Set weekly benchmarks. This is a huge one, guys. If you set a goal, you're likely going to meet that goal or get pretty damn close if you're competitive like I am, right? So figure out at the beginning of the week, how many conversations you want to have that week? How many invites do you want to do? How many follow-ups do you want to do? How many new people do you want to have join a challenge group? Set those goals, set them weekly. Have those goals, because again, if you're getting to Friday and you haven't reached your goals, you're like, oh my God, I've got 2 more days to do this. Okay, I better get it done. Be consistent and intentional in your social media posts. That'll help you save time. Share your journey. That's an easy one. It doesn't take you long to post stories about your journey. You probably have progress pics. It's happened in your life. You don't have to think about it. You can jump on quickly and talk about your day as it relates to your journey super easily. It should come naturally to you. Add value for your followers. Use your own life. Super easy. Again, like, you shouldn't have problems coming up with content if you're using your own life. What attracted you to this? What appeals to you about the business? What appeals to you about the workouts and the products? Chances are somebody else is having the same thoughts as you had before you started this. What were you looking for when you started this? Target those things. Because someone approached you or you joined for some reason. What was that reason? Speak to that. It'll be easy for you because it's your life. It happened to you. Try and create a routine for your posts. So if you want to stick to like a 3-post thing or, stories, how many stories you want to have in a day, break them up. Do you want it in the morning? Do you want it at your break? Do you want it dinner? That's out of the way. Any extra ones, great. It's just added content, but just have a routine and then you'll create a habit of that. And then you can add to that. So if you were like a 3-story person a day, once you've nailed that down, it's like anything. Once you've nailed that down, change it. Make it, I'm going to do 2 in the morning, 2 at break, 2 at dinner. Then guess what? You've got 6 posts. Super easy, 6 stories, right? So start with a goal. And then once you've nailed that, it's become habit, it'll become easy. Add another one. Always be challenging yourself. So takeaways for how I do this. Be organized. Be organized, guys. Like, you can't be haphazard in this business when you're doing it part-time. You just can't. You have to find a way to organize yourself, whether it's my way or another way. You have to be organized. Stick to your plan. Don't sway from it. You have to have a plan. You have to stick to it. And always, always, always remember what your goals are, because that's going to target you in terms of your actions. If you don't know what your goals are, you're going to have no idea what action to do first. If you know what your goals are, you're going to go there first, and then work backwards from there. And that's all.
I loved it. Oh my goodness. All like the truth bombs being dropped everywhere. Do you want to go ahead and you can stop sharing your screen?
Sure. There we go.
I want to point out a couple of things that I felt they just kind of jumped out to me. And I really loved how you worded everything and how you presented it to us. I loved the fact that you talked about release the all or nothing mentality. We talk about this in our challenge groups. And I think it's so important that we apply that to our business as well. If you're not getting it all done, it's okay. You got something done. Celebrate those small wins. I thought that was a really, really good point. I loved that. Establishing goals. We talk about goal setting all the time too. And you guys, I feel like a lot of what we apply in our challenge groups, it's applying that into our business, right? Like, are we taking that and are we applying it into our business? So are we setting goals? Are we setting an action plan to reach those goals? And are we doing the work to actually get there? And just because we don't hit the goal doesn't mean we give up, right? So I really loved that. I loved getting your quick wins first thing in the morning and making sure that your mindset is right first thing in the morning, because it's so true. How often are you entering into your day going, oh, I have so much to do, and then you just feel paralyzed by the amount of work you have to do? Been there, done that all the time. I also really loved that you talked about doing the vitals first instead of training, because I think it's really easy to get into consumption mode, and it's really easy to just be a collector of information. But I think if you are really, really diligent about making sure you get those vitals done first and then dive into the training, you'll see your business grows a lot faster, and you'll see you start to have more questions to ask about the training you listen to. Because without having the experience, like Tara said, the training just becomes information. You really don't know what to do with it or how to apply it until you're actively working your business. So I loved that. And lastly, before you guys can ask questions if you want, I really liked that you talked a lot about showing your life. And a lot of times we will become a Beachbody coach, and that's all we are. That's what we start to identify as. And we forget that our kids have sports activities that every other mom is doing. We forget that we don't want a meal plan every week and we want to go through the drive-through and it's a struggle. Like, we forget about all this stuff and we feel like now we have to fill in these shoes of being a coach, and what that vision of a coach is for you is different, but we all have a vision of what a coach is, and we kind of undo part of who we are, and we stop living the life as we are, and we stop sharing things about our kids, and we stop sharing things about our struggles that we used to share before. Now we're just sharing it with tools and resources that we have on how we've applied it in our life and how we're still winning the day. So I loved that. Thank you. Like, I'm gonna watch that 5 million times. I think it was awesome.
Thank
Do you guys have any other questions for Tara before we kind of wrap this up? Are you guys good? I feel like my mind is exploding.
I don't have any questions, but I definitely took so many notes. So I really appreciate all the little tidbits, stuff that is like, so sounds so simple, but when you say it out loud, I'm like, yeah, that's absolutely true. Let me write that down, because I need a daily reminder every day.
Yeah, and that's just it. Like, you need daily reminders, right? Like, just even doing this presentation, I was like, yeah, I actually didn't apply that today. Like, it's a reminder for me too. I had to go back to look at what has worked for me over the last year and give you that. And you know, sometimes I fall apart from that, but making sure that you sort of create that, like, it makes it hard even when you are struggling, right? So I've been on the struggle bus for the last 3 weeks, but instead of letting it affect me and affect my business, I let it drive me and I let it distract me, and it gave me something to focus on. And we're in the business of helping people overcome those struggles, right? That's how I see my role as a coach, is to help people learn that they can get through struggles by having a community and having a group of people and having a routine and that kind of stuff. So if I let myself fall apart, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I don't struggle. You have to struggle. That's life. But then I would stop and say, okay, but I have this and this and this and this, and I have these tools because I teach these tools. So I'm going to use these tools. And sometimes, some days it works and some days it doesn't, just like life, right? And just like our business. Some days it works, some days it doesn't. You just got to keep on getting on that bus. And then you'll come out of it and you'll have a great month and you'll be like, oh yeah. And that'll drive you forward even more. The key then is that if you don't have as strong a month, you don't shut down. Because I used to do that. I'd have a really good month and then my next month would be crappy and I'd be like, oh, I suck at this. You can't do that. That's why I said, like, it might not always work. Don't give up on it because it will work again, right? Like you can't, some of these things are outside our control. You just have to work with it. Some months are going to be better than others. So just don't give up on what has worked for you in the past because you didn't have as great a month, right? That's self-employment. Welcome to the world of self-employment.
And I think important to that note is that sometimes what's working really well, we've got this system is going really well and we try something new and then all of a sudden it doesn't work and we forget about all the things we were doing that were working because we're trying to like reinvent all these things. So I think that's a really good point. Like make sure that you know your system. And if the system's not working for you, one, you might just need more time with it. Like give yourself some grace. This isn't something that happens overnight. You have to build trust with your audience too. But two, maybe we just need to make tweaks to what your system is. And maybe we just need to figure that out. But just know you're not alone. Like you have all of us, this entire team. You don't need to do this coaching by yourself. You have everyone. So the success partner thing, lean on people, ask people to help you out if you feel like your system is broken. But Tara, thank you. I'm going to end the recording here unless you guys have any other questions. Are we good? Okay, hold on. Let me just end the recording.